And I'll tell you why. Do you really want rhinos, Republicans in name only, do you want people like that to do what Jim Jeffords did in Vermont when he switched parties and went over to the other side? They just had a situation like this in Tennessee. The Republican Party in Tennessee, because of Governor Palin and her being on the ticket, for the first time since Reconstruction, actually won control of the Tennessee House of Representatives. But wait, don't applaud yet. Because what happened was stupid Republicans fighting with one another. They had two different candidates for Speaker who were jealous of one another. And one of the candidates for Speaker who lost in the caucus then came over to the Democrats and said, you know what? If you guys vote for me as Speaker, I'll give you control of all the committees. And that's what happened. That's why the Democrats who lost in the election, because we gained seats in Tennessee, have control of that legislature. It's appalling. This idea that we gain from reading people out of our party, there is no party on earth, very much including the Communist Party of Soviet Russia, that gains power from purges. Purging people out of your party, driving people out of your party, forcing people to walk out saying, this isn't pure enough for me, this isn't good enough for me, that is not a way to win anything. You win in politics through addition and multiplication, not through subtraction and division. It ought to be obvious. Ronald Reagan, along with Lincoln, the greatest Republican of them all. President Reagan, who made me a Republican, and I was very proud to cast my first Republican vote for President of the United States for President Reagan, twice. And President Reagan used to say, if somebody agrees with me 70% of the time, it doesn't make him my enemy. We desperately need not a purer party, but a more welcoming party. A party that says, we want people to come over to our side. It's fun. And you know, it used to be Benjamin Disraeli, great British conservative leader, said something tremendously witty, and I've always loved this and always cited it. He used to say, the difference between liberals and cannibals is cannibals only eat their enemies. Unfortunately, that's no longer so true of liberals. They manage to get along. It is increasingly true of Republicans. We have to stop it. If we are going to win, if we are going to rebut the big lie about America that the two-party system is broken, the two-party system isn't broken. If the Republican Party in any place, any state of the union isn't doing the right thing, then you change it. You look at what a mayor of Wasilla was able to do to shake up some of the Republican establishment here in this state. Look what Ronald Reagan was able to do to change the Republican Party nationwide, what Barry Goldwater was able to do. There is opportunity for people who believe in conservative principles to work those principles through the Republican Party. You have no opportunity to work those principles through fringe parties, through the, you'll pardon me, the organization that I refer to on my radio show fairly regularly as the Losertarian Party. And the reason I use that term is because this is a political organization that is set up to lose. Politics is incredibly selfish if all you're doing is posing about how righteous and pure you are, but you mean to lose. You only make a difference in politics if you can actually change policy and change that direction of the big ship of state. So let us reject the lie about America that says that the two-party system is broken. The two-party system has always been broken. People always complain. They always say, oh, it's the lesser of two evils. But meanwhile, this country has been blessed with extraordinary leadership most of our history. And yes, this country, through the two-party system, through the Republican Party of 1860, was able to take a guy who had only served one term in the House of Representatives, one term, and because of his eloquence and his charisma, which was extraordinary, and his moral value and his leadership skills and his voice above all, his ability to speak to people and connect with people, to make Abraham Lincoln the 16th President of the United States. Remaking the political landscape through the party system is not only possible, it is necessary. And that brings me to the second lie about Abraham Lincoln. One of the things that drives me crazy is PBS. I used to work for PBS. I hosted a show on public television for 12 years. I often say when people ask me about that, those 12 years I was hosting on public television, the show was called Sneak Preview, some of you may remember it. But some of you are very old. On Sneak Preview, those 12 years on public television were 3 of the happiest weeks of my life. But public television recently did a nostalgic look back on what was called the Abraham Lincoln Brigade. And this absurdly was a group of American communists, and they really were, who went over and fought in the Spanish Civil War, the incredibly bloody Spanish Civil War, in which hundreds of thousands of people on both sides died. The Abraham Lincoln Brigade, and they believed that Abraham Lincoln was an appropriate symbol for the Communist Party. Why? Because Abraham Lincoln was for the little guy. Can I tell you something? Abraham Lincoln, and you can read the biographies and read his history, was a corporate lawyer. And he was proud of it. Why was he proud of it? He was for the little guy, yes, but unlike people on the left, he was for the little guy becoming something other than a little guy, getting ahead. The difference between liberals and conservatives, it seems to me, is very much that idea that people on the left say, we are for the poor. Okay, but part of being for the poor is making the poor perpetually dependent upon government, which is no kind of liberation, which is no kind of improvement. And for people who look at the reservation system that we have set up for Native Americans, you can see that dependence on government is not something that anyone would wish for. It's not an answer to poverty. Big lie number 5 in my book is the big lie that says that big business is somehow an enemy of typical Americans. Abraham Lincoln knew better. Abraham Lincoln was concerned about money. Ronald White on my show was talking about Lincoln was doing some work for Illinois Central Railroad as a lawyer. And he got a commission of $2,000, got a fee of $2,000. He didn't think it was enough. And so he talked to his friends, and he went back, and he got more, and he was very happy with it. Abraham Lincoln had the idea that there is nothing dishonorable in people seeking profit. And this is the basic point. People have this idea that a big business is our enemy. Look, every single small business in America wants to be big, right? And every single business that is big, once upon a time, was small. This crazy idea we have, and you can read the polling, I have the polling in my book, the idea that says that the American people think small business is just great, they have a very positive attitude, but they think big business is evil. Everything we are enjoying tonight with this delicious dinner, we are dependent to some extent or another on big business. The potatoes, the beef Wellington, the candles, the wine, the chairs, the tables. Who makes this stuff? Where does it come from? The BlackBerries that people are using. The cell phones that you kindly turned off. Hey, you think it's easy? Somebody's going to make a cell phone in his garage or her garage? Why, is there somebody here who has that business? It's insane. The idea is we have been so phenomenally blessed in the United States by our corporate system. I know it's not popular to say it, particularly right now, at a time of an economic downturn, but big lie number